Welcome to The Explainer. You know, every so often, an artist comes along who doesn't just create music, they completely redefine it for a whole generation. Today, we're talking about one of those legends, A.R. Rahman.
Okay, let's start with a number. 2. That's how many Academy Awards he won in a single night. I mean, think about that. It was a moment that put him, and really all of Indian film music, on the global map in a way nobody had ever seen before.
And you know what? It didn't stop there. He also took home 2 Grammys for the exact same project. It was just a total sweep. It cemented his place not just as a national treasure, but as a true international icon.
So, yeah, the big question is, how did a boy from Chennai, India, become this global music powerhouse? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. Let's get into it, starting right at the beginning. All right, so first up, a prodigy's burden. His story, it starts in a home absolutely brimming with music. But it takes this sharp, tragic turn that would pretty much shape his entire life. Just look at this timeline. It's just wild how fast everything happened. At 4, he's on the piano. By 9, he tragically loses his father. And then by 11 years old, he's already in an orchestra working to support his family. I mean, at an age where most of us are just playing, music for him wasn't a hobby. It was a lifeline.
And that leads to this. He actually had to drop out of school to become a full-time musician. And this was a choice his mother supported, which just goes to show you the immense pressure he was under. It wasn't about choosing a passion over school. It was about survival. It was a path that was, in a way, chosen for him.
Okay, so before the epic film scores, before the Oscars, Rahman was dominating a completely different world. Let's talk about the Jingle King studio, where he mastered his craft in these tiny 30-second bursts.
Get this, 300. That's how many ad jingles he composed in just 5 years. 300. I mean, think about the discipline that takes. You have to grab someone's attention, create a mood, and make it memorable, all in under 30 seconds. This was his boot camp. This is where he sharpened all the technical tools he'd later use to change the world. And what does he do next? He doesn't wait for some big studio to discover him. No, he builds his own creative sanctuary in his backyard. He called it Panchatan Record Inn, and it wasn't just some home setup. It became one of India's most advanced studios. This was his lab, his playground, the very place where the iconic A.R. Rahman sound was born. And then comes the moment, the one that changes absolutely everything. A chance meeting with the incredible director Mani Ratnam leads to his very first film score, and it created, well, nothing short of a musical earthquake. And I'm not exaggerating when I say earthquake. We're talking about the soundtrack for Roja, his debut film. And it didn't just top the charts in India. Time magazine called it one of the 10 best movie soundtracks of all time, ever. For a debut, that's not just a hit. That is a massive statement to the world.
So you're probably asking, what was the Roja sound? What made it so different? Well, at the time, a lot of film music was kind of getting stuck in a rut, a bit formulaic. And then Rahman comes in and just blows it all up. He took these beautiful, traditional Indian melodies and fused them with Western classical music, with electronic beats, with folk sounds. It was something that felt deeply familiar and yet completely, radically new. Nobody had heard anything like it.
So after the Roja Revolution, the floodgates just opened. He went on this history-making run. But what's really cool is digging into the stories behind some of his most famous anthems. It really shows you how his genius mind works. Okay, let's look at 2 films from the same year, 1995. On one hand, you have Bombay. The main theme? He said it was inspired by the sound of a single raindrop, and that simple idea sold over 15 million copies worldwide. Then, for his first big Hindi film, Rangila, he just completely breaks the rules. He takes a raga that's supposed to be used at the end of a piece and sticks it right at the beginning of a song. Why? Because it sounded good. Total creative freedom.
And you see, he wasn't just making catchy tunes. He was telling stories with his music. You take a song like Chaya Chaya from Dil Se, which is just iconic, on the train. But another song from that same film, Dil Se, actually explores the 7 Sufi stages of love. It's so deep. And then for the movie Tal, he had to work with a lyricist who spoke a different language. So what did he do? He used a harmonium to communicate the melodies, bridging that gap. He just found ways to connect with everyone, becoming a true all-India composer.
And this all leads us to the big one, the road to the Oscars. But look, this wasn't some overnight fluke. It was a climb. Step 1, Lagan gets an Oscar nomination for Best Foreign Film. The world starts paying attention.
Step 2. He creates these globally praised scores for films like Rang De Basanti and Guru. His reputation is building. And then, Step 3. Danny Boyle calls him for a little film called Slumdog Millionaire. And boom, Step 4. He's on stage holding not 1, but 2 Academy Awards. An absolutely historic.
So after all that, after reaching the absolute peak, what's his legacy? Let's take a look at the awards and the records, because honestly, the scale of his recognition is just mind-blowing. I mean, just look at this table. It's like the highlight reel from a Hall of Fame career. You've got the 2 Oscars, the 2 Grammys. That's the global peak, right? But then you have a record 7 National Film Awards in India, plus the country's highest civilian honors. It just shows you he's celebrated at the highest possible level, both at home and across the entire world.
And this is the really crucial part. This isn't just about what he did. He's still doing it. His 7th National Film Award came in 2022 for Ponniyin Selvan. He's still setting records, still pushing boundaries, decades after he started. It proves that his creative fire, his genius, it's just timeless. So what is the sound of a generation being redefined? You know, when you think about it, from that little backyard studio to the biggest stages on the planet, A.R. Rahman didn't just write some great songs. He literally composed the soundtrack for a modern global India. So the next time you hear one of his tunes, just think about that. You're hearing more than music. You're hearing history.